Hello, Wiffle Nation. My name is Josh Smith.
And I'm Jeremy Ray.
And this is Wiffle Talk Hour, WTH for short, the show about America's greatest wiffleball league, the Huntington Wiffle League of Huntington, West Virginia.
We're here to make it great again.
Woo! Our top story. Smoking Bases wins the April tournament, and Sheevers, who did not return in April, won the preseason tournament and are rumored to be coming back in May. Let's look at some of the scores from the brackets to get some perspective on the winners from the April tournament.
In the 4th seed versus the 5th seed, Make Wiffleball Great Again beat Beaver Fever 10-2 to advance to the semifinals.
Smoking Bases, who got a bye in the first round and automatically advanced to the semifinals, played against the Ball Arenas and mercy ruled them 14-4, and Smoking Bases advanced to the championship as easy as that.
Well, Make Wiffleball Great Again started building that wall to try to win the championship, but Sit on My Base destroyed it 11-1 to advance to the finals.
And finally, Sit on My Base, in a final situation for the 5th consecutive time, would lose 10-6 against Smoking Bases, making them 1 time, 2 times, 3 times, 4 times, 5 times a lady.
Sad. That's a sad.
Which leads us to our next story with our special report from Greg Sowards on that syndrome that Sit on My Base apparently suffers from when we come back.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. Now let's talk about the story that no one's talking about. The bridesmaids, the runner-ups, the team that didn't leave with a trophy. Jeremy Ray and Sit on My Base. They have been to the championship 5 times. They have lost the championship 5 times. Statistically, almost impossible. They have faced 5 different teams and lost 5 times. How do you do it? How's it done to lose the championship 5 times when you're good enough to get there? You dominated up until then, but it just didn't turn into anything. But let's take a look at these teams that went to the championships and lost it all. In 2014, Sit on My Base went to the championship for the HWL and lost to the Honey Badgers. Granted, the Honey Badgers had a Rookie of the Year pitcher on their team by the name of Jacob Fisher, and Paul Husson was doing pretty well with his bat, but you know, Jeremy Ray and Sit on My Base was one of the top 2-3 teams that year, but they still just couldn't do it, couldn't finish. And then in 2015, it began to look like it was a just ongoing occurrence that just kept happening. They lost again, this time to Breaking Balls, a team that, you know, overcame injury, overcame people not being able to show up to take it to the finals and finally get that W in the championship they didn't get a chance to the year before when they lost to the eventual champions, Honey Badgers. And now back into these last 2 tournaments. The preseason tournament, they lost to the Sheevers. Then this tournament, they lost to Smoking Bases. What is wrong with this team that they cannot win? Well, if we look at some of the stats from these teams, if you look at Sit on My Base, they've dominated in almost every stat every year, but in the end, they just don't have it. I just think they choke every year. It just happens. Some teams just can't finish, can't win the big one. My real point here is, should Sit on My Base even compete anymore? Or should they divide their talent up amongst the teams and give someone else a chance to be a bridesmaid? I mean, it's even in their new logo, runner-up. But the real issue here is Jeremy Ray. He just can't finish in the big one. I'm Greg Sowards. How about them balls?
Welcome back. Sorry. Thanks for following the dress code directions, by the way.
Well, you said make sure you wear a jacket and a tie.
Unbelievable. It was announced a few weeks ago that the HWL will be returning to the NCAA tournament and sending a squad to the regionals. The location's still to be announced. We're going to be interviewing Patrick Rayl, the manager of the NCAA team we will be sending. Take it away, Jeremy.
So Patrick, why return to the NWLA tournament?
Well, Jeremy, we decided as a league that we'd like to go back to the NCAA tournament and try to show that we are one of the better leagues out there.
Do you feel like our league was mistreated the last time we went?
I was only there Friday night. I didn't feel like, based off of Friday night, we were really mistreated. I think as a league, you always feel like you get the bottom end of the stick. But no, I feel like there's some rule changes that we feel need to be made, but we can play by those rules.
What mistakes did we make in 2014 that you will want to fix for this upcoming tournament?
I think we need to look at strategy a little bit more. Strategy plays a huge part into that tournament. You need to figure out who your best pitcher is, and you need to pitch them versus the best teams. Save that arm. We can't be riding 1-2 arms throughout the whole tournament. We need at least 3 to 4 arms that can come in and pitch and be fresh throughout the whole tournament. It's a 2-day long tournament. You want to make sure that your pitchers are well ready. We need to practice fielding with only 2 fielders. That becomes trickier with a larger field. We need to have the field at 100 when we practice, and we need to make sure that we're showing in-game situations that will be shown up there. Practice is going to make us better. A lot of these teams practice all throughout the year. They may have one tournament that puts them all the way through to the NCAA, and then they sit there and practice and practice and practice, and that's what we're going to do.
Do you have an idea of who would want to go up there with you?
I mean, obviously, I feel like the 2 captains that will be out there the majority of the time is going to be Jeremy and Andrew Westcott. I feel like those 2 people will play the game very well. There's 6 other positions that I have a couple people in mind for, but the practices and the rest of the tournaments are really going to show who we need to take to Columbus.
Follow-up question. How are you going to create this team? Is there going to be tryouts? You're just going to watch practicing?
We're going to do practices and kind of have a, like I said, Jeremy and Andrew are kind of captains of this team along with myself and Carl Coffey. And we're going to basically, that's who's going to be choosing this talent, are those 4 people. And the practices are going to play a huge role in it. The tournaments, I mean, obviously competitive situations, we want to see how you're going to do in it. But since our tournaments are slow pitch, we need to kind of pull you away and see how you're going to do against fast pitching, if you're going to be able to hold up to the same standard you've been playing in during the tournaments.
Do you believe Josh Smith will help out in any way on creating this team?
That's up to Josh Smith. If he wants to come, we'd love to have him. He's a very important person to our league, and I'd love for him to be up there. But if schedules, or if he just doesn't feel like he wants to be a part of it, then that's his call.
Pat, thank you for your time.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
All right, so I don't feel like we got enough information about how we're going to put this team together or who's maybe going to be on this team, so let's have some fun with this.
All right.
How about we can use 1, maybe 2 players of this roster of people that aren't necessarily active in the league anymore that we would want to put on this team. The rest of it has to be people that are active right now. Deal?
Yeah, maybe tweak it a little bit.
Okay, here's mine. Jeremy Ray. He pretty much carried us as far as pitching goes in 2014. He's remained consistent. He won Cy Wiffle last year. He doesn't seem to have lost his stuff, so I think that would be a good place to start. Andrew Westcott, he didn't get to go last time. He's arguably one of the best hitters that have ever been in our league, so I think that that's a good place to start as far as the offensive goes. Boomer Meade, we've only seen him play 1 day, and that was during the preseason tournament, and he lives up to his name as far as the batting goes. Then there's Ian Handy. I've seen him getting worked with the pitching. He's a big guy. He's got a good arm on him, and I've seen him just messing around between innings, and I think he could possibly become a pretty formidable pitcher. Chad Lynch, amazing outfielder. He made the top play, which we'll see later, and he's a great hitter. Garry Wheeler is probably, I would say with the absence of Brian Ball, the best fielder in the league right now, hands down. Then we have James Clagg. He did well in 2013. He didn't play for 3 years, came back for the preseason tournament, and it was like he was never gone. And then finally, Nick Kappra. Of all the pitchers that are no longer active in the league, I feel like he was maybe got the least amount of attention, and he did quite well during the 2014 tournament, and I think could really do well to be an addition to our rotation. What are your picks?
Well, I agree with a lot of them that you have already mentioned. I think Jacob Dunkle will be a good fit because he came to the practice for the 2014 team and was hitting well from the 48, and we actually led him to sit on my base for 2015, and he did quite well from hitting from 48, and so I think he will be a good addition. Jeremy Ray for pitching. I mean,
You're so conceited.
I'm sorry, I can't help it. Just because I'm the most consistent on actually throwing from 48 feet and making it actually hit the target.
I'll give you that.
Andrew Westcott, he is one of the best clutch hitters that we will actually need, and he will produce runs for us. And that's one thing in 2014 that we did not do was produce runs,
Sure.
especially with slower pitching. And Andrew has already proven that he can hit slower pitching on a consistent basis and far. Boomer Meade, this kid can hit a ball.
And we know almost nothing about him.
No,
Except that
left-handed.
he plays wiffle ball very well.
Yes, that's about it.
That's all I care about.
And a lot of the round robin games, if you remember, were slow pitch. Like a lot of them just wanted to put somebody in there just to pitch
To save their strong arms.
to save their strong arms. And so I think he would be a great addition because, I mean, every hit that he did was pretty much a home run. Ian Handy, I was working with him personally on pitching, and he can throw a ball. Like he can actually put a lot of heat behind it and be consistent. And plus, it also helps that he's a lot taller, which helps with the velocity of the ball.
And it'll carry a little further.
Mm-hmm. Chad Lynch, I think he will be a great addition to it, just based on what I've seen already.
He's just an overall good player.
He is. He really is. Kappra, I mean, he's my buddy up north right now, and I think that he will be, with him there and me there, the best 1-2 punch going into this tournament. I really do think that there's not going to be anyone that can touch the two of us. And I'm throwing this out there, and Wiffleball Nation, I'm telling you who it's going to be. Drew McClanahan. He is coming back.
I have not heard anything about
He
it.
is coming back. I'm telling you he's coming back.
I definitely would take him on the squad.
He will be there. I will make sure of it.
People spoke about him in hushed tones as we came to the tournament last time. And I don't want to say they weren't impressed, but he didn't quite perform. And I think a big reason for that was because we had a major format difference where we pitched from 45 feet rather than 48. This year, we are playing slow pitch, which it doesn't get much different than that. And this is a fast pitch tournament. We're going to talk a little more about that, about debating the format when we come back from this break.
Yes, sir!
As anyone that will know that has followed our league for much time at all, our format is radically different than what it was from last year. We are now a slow pitch, overhand, base running wiffle ball league. And before that, maybe we weren't necessarily a fast pitch league, but there was no speed limit restriction. Now, we do not really relate with a lot of the other wiffle ball leagues in the NWLA. And sadly, with some of our old players. So as a result, I feel like we've alienated some of our original player base. So Jeremy and I are going to look at the pros and cons of this new format change. So first thing to consider, does slow pitch necessarily equate to too easy or lack of competition?
I wouldn't say lack of competition because still the games are very close on some instances. Like the last championship game was only 10-6. So, and you're thinking, well, it's slow pitch. You should be able to hit it over the fence every single time. Some might view it as too easy, kind of like how some people view slow pitch softball as underhand. You're just hitting with a bat as being, stupid. But I think that it makes it a lot more competitive because it gives an equal playing field to everyone. And so you really had to step up your game whenever you actually go to bat.
Yeah, I think a lot of people see it. I mean, the same kind of people that say, "Oh, a slow pitch is too easy," or lob pitching's too easy. It's the same people that say wiffle ball's too easy. I mean, if you don't understand why we made this change, then you don't understand the sport or competition or parity as a whole. You have a fundamental lack of understanding about sports and competition. I mean, it's real easy to equate it to, oh, it's like playing with the bumpers in bowling. No, it's not, because there's still people who can't manage to hit the strike zone even with lob pitching.
There's still walks.
Yeah, and we have an extra fielder now. We did have 2 fielders out there, and now you have 3. So it's kind of like London rules, except, makes sense.
Yes.
So I really do not disagree with people that think that slow pitch is not serious or it's not competitive, because it clearly is. Next point. Does playing on the weekends make it easier for people to play or more difficult?
Yes and no. Because with some people like Paul Hessen or Mike McCoy, who work on the weekends, can't come to one of these tournaments, other than some of the people that work during the weekdays, like what I do, I can play on Saturdays if I'm not going out of town.
I mean, I work weekends, but is it really that hard as a retail worker to say, hey, I need this one Saturday off this month? Is it really that difficult? If you really want to play, I think it's better to do. I think it was crazy that we were as successful as we were at our peak at getting people to show up on a weekday evening after work, and you're going to be there till 9, possibly 10 o'clock at night, and have to go to work in the morning. I think this is much more friendly format as far as scheduling goes. It's less frequent, and on a day where you can actually not have to worry about going to work the next day, normally.
And I'm just hoping that people actually, kind of get more involved with the slow pitch, actually give it a try.
Yeah.
And see what it's all about, because there's a lot of our former players that that haven't done the slow pitch yet, and I think they would really like it. Like I was a non-believer at first because I love fast pitch,
Yeah.
but I quickly learned to love slow pitch, even though it equals a playing field. I still enjoy it. It's a lot of fun. It's a lot more fun than what it actually sounds.
Some players worry, moving on to the next point, that the depiction of slow pitch not being as competitive as fast pitch, that we were going to suffer in the national rankings with the NWA, and then at the end of the year not get as many individual awards or recognition that we got in years past because of the format change. Do you think that's true?
Absolutely. I mean, they already don't like us too much, but it will affect it because we can't keep pitching stats because it's overhand lob. Everyone's ERA will be above 45.
It's going to be like 32, and that's like you're the new side wiffle.
Yeah. So I mean, it's keeping stats with with the NWLA style. It's impossible for us, except for our hitting stats. But then, how are they going to take our hitting stats seriously whenever it's slow pitch?
Now, currently, I think the top batting average is like 763 or something like that. It's insane. I think something to consider along with that, too, because I think that's kind of an unfair question that some people have, is the NWA rankings have changed overall. Sam Skibby, instead of John Converse, now runs it, and it's not just one person doing it. There's a 5-man committee that decides who is getting nationally ranked. And instead of 50 teams, it is now 25 teams. So just overall, just from that fact alone, less people are going to be getting ranked. But currently, so far we are getting respect, and we didn't even have anybody with a win-loss record when they did it because our stats were not updated yet. Semi-base is ranked at number 15 out of 25.
All right.
And on the bubble is the smoking bases. So, and the fact that we have less teams than we did, we currently have 6 teams versus 8 for the past 2 years. We're going to get less recognition, just like in college football. Bigger conferences get more people in the rankings. So I think that's something that needs to be considered for people who have that question. Finally, does slow pitch attract or repel potential players? Your thoughts?
I think that it will attract a different crowd, but I think it will attract more players than it will repel because it will give them a shot. Because if you see someone like Nick Kappra that would come in there and pitch, and he hums it in there, they automatically get intimidated and question on coming back. But now they're just seeing it overhand lob. They're like, oh, I played this in the backyard. I'm able to do this. It won't be that hard. Then they go out there, they start playing around, enjoying it. So I think it will attract more as we go on than it will hurt.
Let me give you some names. Scott Hatfield, Todd Scott, Stephanie Sadler. What do all those people have in common? They're people that used to love coming out and playing. They started in 2013 when we were sort of a medium pitch league. And during their time there, we turned into a extremely fast pitch league. Why are they not with us anymore? Sure, you could say, well, it's work. But for some of them, they really want to play, but it's very annoying to be up at the plate and then, oh, guess what? I struck out for the 15th time in a row. Hooray. You have to make it to where there's an entry level. And if you have people like Drew McClanahan that's been playing 2-3 years, zipping them in there at 80 plus miles an hour, and someone's like, this is my first time. Hey, guys. And they're just going to get sit down. How much encouragement is that going to offer for them to return? That's bad for the league, that's bad for potential players, and that's bad for the sport in West Virginia because already a lot of people don't really know what wiffle ball is. I think it's bad overall to have that experience as your entry level into the sport as a whole.
And they look at it as, isn't it that sport with the yellow bat or something like that?
Yeah.
And that's how they...
Or they don't even know it's an official ball. It's like a Band-Aid and adhesive bandage. You got to have brand loyalty. So I say to all the people that are still hating the local area, not understanding the format change, get over it. We'll be right back to talk about the May tournament. See ya. May 21st, 2016.
The new and upcoming tournament.
Mark it on your calendar. It's going to be huge.
Can be
Huge. Like,
massive.
yeah. Much bigger than it appears. So, let's look at each and every one of the 6 teams that have participated so far. As we've said before, we're open to new talent. Get registered at www.huntingtonwiffleball.com and show us what you got. So let's start from the top, analyzing these teams' strengths and weaknesses. Let's start with sit on my base. Strengths. Every player hits bombs, apparently. Rick Patterson has somehow figured out a way to throw a perfect game during a slow pitch format, which is
Unheard of.
defeats the entire purpose of why we switched formats. The Westcott brothers seem to be doing quite well on fielding. Jeremy Ray and Andrew Westcott lead in almost every batting statistic, and they are the most experienced roster in the league. Unfortunately, there are some downsides. Justin Fairman has spotty attendance. He normally shows up late. Jeremy Ray normally leaves early for work. So for a great deal of the time, they never have more than 4 players. And in fact, during their first championship, during the preseason tournament, they only had 3 players. So that leads me to think that they're cursed, because even when they have more players, they seem to not be able to get the job done. They run out of gas in later phases of the tournament. You'll notice when you look at game results, they really blow teams out of the water in round robins, but the scores get more and more close. And part of that's because people were broken in the competition, but I really do think a lot of these guys are kind of close to my age. They're pushing 30. So, I mean, you run out of gas. We aren't 21 years old anymore. So I think maybe they need to pace themselves in these round robin games.
Still think that we probably need to have our full roster there.
Yeah.
It might help. Well, I'm going to go with smoking bases. And a lot of their strengths is that Ian Handy has developed a knuckleball that seems to be unhittable, which really helps them to win the last tournament. Chad Lynch is in the outfield, and he has just been phenomenal all over the field. He's one of the most complete players out there. They're second highest in team batting average, and they have the tenacity of Vince Garber, and they also have an overall desire to win, which they are very competitive throughout the entire time, and they do very, very well. But their weaknesses is really big with their inexperience. They're still new. Ian Handy's the only one that's really had any experience with the Huntington Wiffleball League before.
That was just with the plain white tees.
Yeah. And that was just last year, and he only showed up maybe once or twice.
Yeah. He learned how to lose.
He learned how to lose. I don't think that he liked it. So he's developing a team, and they're all coming together, and they're starting to learn. But they're still very inexperienced. Occasional fielding errors. that happens to everyone. It's hard to field a wiffle ball. The team has struck out 15 times, which is the second most in the league right now. And if you're striking out in slow pitch wiffle ball, that raises a really big red flag. And the team has left 23 men on base, second highest. The only thing that you can do is score runs to win. And by leaving men on base, you can't do it.
Yeah, you got to touch all the bases to score. It's a yogiism for you. So let's move on to the ball arenas. They finished third this time. New team, heard about us through the Smoking Bases, who originally played as Lifehouse. Their strengths, they have phenomenal fielding. Garry Wheeler, I'm just saying, I mean, the guy is magic. He may dive unnecessarily, but he's still learning how the game works. But you're hard-pressed to get a ball past that guy. You better hit it over the fence if he's in the outfield. They have a growing ability to hit the long ball. They kind of struggled at first. They played Make Wiffle great again in the first round-robin game, and it ended up being the first tie in league history because we have a 45-minute time limit and went through 6 innings, and they tied 16-16. They got better and better throughout time hitting the long ball, and I think they're going to improve at that with the next tournament. They've taken to the sport nicely for playing their first time. I've seen I don't know how many teams start throughout the years, and they seem to have taken to the sport the quickest. So I think we really do have a title contender here sometime this year if they keep it up. They have good communication skills. They are really good at running the bases. They respect each and every fielder as far as calling it. So good communication there is very key. We've seen it benefit teams like Bag Tag or Black Sheep and some other teams in the past. They are the third team in batting average, and they are only 0.8% behind second place, which is Smoking Bases. Good company to keep. Now, for the weaknesses. They're also inexperienced, even less inexperienced than Smoking Bases, so they're bound to make mistakes from that. They have a lack of home runs, but as I said, they're working on that. They are fourth in the league in run differential. I think only 2 runs worse than Make Wiffle great again. So that's something they definitely need to work on. Good defense is only going to do you so much. You got to put runs up on the board. They are most in team strikeouts and fielders' choice hits. So they're either not hitting the ball entirely or they're hitting the ball to the wrong places. Definitely something they need to work on. They need to learn better pitching strategy as far as placement and where to throw and who to throw to, and so on. It's something that pitchers like Ian Handy, Josh Smith, and Rick Patterson are finding that there are some things you can do to give yourself an advantage with your delivery, the types of pitches you throw, the placement on the zone that you're aiming, and who you're going to give those lollipops to. So I think that's something that they're going to get a hold of later on, but that's something I see as their biggest weakness.
Well, I'm going to go with Make Wiffle Ball Great Again, the second most experienced team in this league. Actually, I would probably put them above Sit 'em on Base based on your experience with it, Pat, Dunkle, and all of them. Strength, Jacob Dunkle's bat. I mean, the kid can send a ball flying at any time. Josh Smith's odd pitching delivery. He's always had that, even in the fast pitch. It's like a weird sidearm type ordeal that you do, and it's ridiculous. I hate you for it. Team chemistry, which is very, very big in wiffle ball. You need team chemistry in order to succeed and to go further.
If you're taking a beating, you might as well bond while you're doing it.
And I think building the wall was probably building a bridge to your all's friendship.
It's very touching.
Very touching,
Thanks.
I think. Not a problem. They can get on a roll offensively. And Dunkle and Smith, experienced and effective fielders, have really helped. You know, because you have to develop your batting. You have to develop getting runs. That's the point of the game. You know, the highest, what does high score mean? It means you win.
Yeah.
And you all also lead in walks, which is kind of unheard of, considering that it's slow pitch and it should be a lot more fast paced and everything else. But you all are picking your pitches to hit, which is good.
There's actually 2 or 3 teams that have no walks right now.
So, but with all that experience also comes with some weaknesses. You all left 24 runners on base, which is the most in the league. The most. The one that has the most experience has left the most runs on the base.
How many we leave on base again?
24?
Is that the most?
I think it's the most.
I just want to make sure.
Okay, I just wanted to point that
I
out.
want to make sure.
and they have a streaky offense. They can either be really on or really off. So they need to get it together and actually hit the people in. Hit your runners in. That's what you need. They need to hit more home runs, which is everything that we've already discussed.
I mean, they seem to get you got to have a bunch of players on base to leave them on base. I mean, that's something. It's just they're not bringing them in. That seems to be the big issue for this team.
Well, here's the thing:
I'll
is
say
that
it. It's my team. I get a front row seat to the train wreck from time to time.
yeah, I mean, and I can see it. And the thing about you all is that you all do get frustrated easily by seeing the bases loaded up, and then you do 2 straight outs, and ends the inning. So I mean, it can really hurt an on-roll process. And you all are also really bad at fielding.
Yeah.
Really bad.
We'll get eaten by errors quite a bit.
Yeah, I mean, I've even seen Dunkle help home runs go over the fence.
Yeah. So, moving on to the next team, Beaver Fever. This is the oldest living franchise in the league. I'll say that much for it. Some strengths. And I'm being generous. Greg Sowards is the longest serving team captain in the league. Mega experience points there. He's captained a team since 2012. And with this team name, he actually won a championship in that year. I'm going to go out on a limb here and say that's not going to happen this year without some drastic changes. Team chemistry. He has a stepson on the team. Zach Daniels is his best friend. And Jerry Southall is probably the coolest guy ever and really easy to get along with. So we have fantastic team chemistry here. It's actually the same roster as last year's Wiffle and Dixie minus Mike McCoy. And boy, could they use him.
Yes, they could.
Youthful talent in Zach Daniels and Mike Saxton. Those are your marathon runners right there. Those are the guys that, if you do manage to somehow get late in the bracket, they're not going to run out of gas on you. Zach Daniels' history as a fearsome power hitter. When he wants to, as a lefty, he can crush the ball consistently. But he's not really put much numbers up for him. He's only hit 3 home runs so far. Greg Sowards actually leads the team with 5. Saxton and Southall has done
Zip.
no home runs combined together. So together, as a team, they've only managed to hit 8 home runs, which is dwarfed by the amount of home runs being hit by other teams.
You know, sit on my base hit 52.
Yeah. Saxton is a natural pitcher in this format. He's always kind of pitched like this anyway, which is very out of place when we were playing fast pitch, so he's taken to it quite nicely. Greg's grenade pitches are very difficult to hit. He struck me out personally twice on first pitch strikeouts because there's no way I'd be able to put a bat on that, and it's out of reach, and then it drops back in at the last second and hits the board. This team is has the second least amount of strikeouts. So that's something that's positive. They know when to not swing. And now for the weaknesses.
Greg Sowards.
It's okay, buddy.
I'm sorry. It hurts.
Did he upset you?
Maybe a little bit.
Well, I want to do the news now.
Okay, I'm sorry.
Lack of power hitting, as said before. Daniels and Sowards are carrying this team as hitting the only home runs on the franchise right now, which is a measly 8. Poor fielding. This team really needs a shot to the heart with the fielding. I see a lot of lack of heart and spirit, and not so much ability, just they start getting stomped early on, and they're just like, why bother? I guess if I got no hit in a slow pitch format, I would lose a little bit of my step.
I would sit down too.
Demoralizing losses lead to lack of meaningful effort. Okay. They lost every single game they played. They've only won 1 game this year, and it was in the preseason versus Make Wiffle Great Again, which did knock them out of the tournament, so I guess their only win came at some consequence.
Which, the reason why is because James Clagg was put onto that team.
Yeah. Bases are usually empty when home runs are hit, so they're not really leaving many on base, but you can't win games if every time you hit a home run, it's literally a solo shot. They're missing a 5th member of the roster. Matt Thornton, who played in the old league in Hurricane, was supposed to be on the roster. He played on Wiffle and Dixie briefly last year and had a stellar outing, but he has yet to show up. James Clagg showed up for the second half of the free tournament and dazzled many onlookers, but he has yet to be seen. We're looking at a defense that just needs to dramatically improve. That is their biggest opportunity, but I don't see that happening. So the only remedy is to fill that 5th spot and put an absolute superstar in there. You need Matt Thornton, you need Mike McCoy, you need James Clagg, or you need a dark horse of somebody with a lot of athletic ability.
Drew McClanahan.
That is the only way this team is going to rise above the last seed. Now, I mean, I think they can do it, but they really need to be hitting the sidewalk, finding some people, and filling that hole.
And last, we have the Sheevers. They are fantastic at hitting. They have unforgiving defense. It's hard to put the ball in play and get on base.
Yeah.
They have thick team camaraderie. I mean, they are
Like real thick. I mean, I'm talking the girth of this team camaraderie.
of their thickness. I mean,
It's like
just,
my arm.
It's just amazing because they do support each other and they do really well with each other. They have natural athleticism. All of them seem to have played a sport in something else, even with some glimpses of baseball in there. So that really helps with building a team. And 2 former Maroon squad members, which I have no idea who would that be.
That's the 2013 championship team, baby.
I don't know who they are. And Boomer Meade's bat. I mean, it's just, I hope there is some video of him actually hitting next time because he is sending those balls flying. And it doesn't matter where the ball is pitched, even if it's outside, inside. Every hit seems to be a home run. And not just barely over the fence. It's going over into the other field.
I think if they somehow lose him or he decides not to return
They
and the
don't.
Sheevers return, they're going to have their hands full.
Yes. I mean, it'll be a tougher hill to climb than what it is now.
Agreed.
Weaknesses. They will have their hands full of surging teams with smoking bases, getting better. I think make wiffle ball great again will surprise a lot of people and get their system going and get the runs in that they need to get in. And so they have to compete with that. And also you'll always have sit on my base, which is consistent in pool play. Next thing, slow pitching has some strategy, but you have to show up in order to practice the slow pitch. So
We're
there are
talking
times-
about it. Practice.
Practice? You're talking about practice?
We are.
We are. And that also includes attendance. They weren't there this last weekend. They all had something going on, so they couldn't make it. But each time you miss actually hurts you.
Yeah.
We're
Everyone
all
else is learning and you're falling on the curve.
And are they serious about playing? Are they serious? I think that if you're really serious, you'll find ways or find people to fill in your spots to keep your team going, to keep your stats up. And so if they're really serious, they'll at least try to find some other people to fill in because at this point, for the May tournament, you can still add people on and just show up, but for the main tournament will be for June.
Yeah. I think these are all good points, good strengths and weaknesses to point out. So we said all this to say this. Who do you think is going to win the May tournament?
I'm going with sit on my base. Why? They have made it to the championship 5 times in a row. And I think that this is their one that they're going to win. Everyone will be there. We will all be there. Sit on base will be there. And not a chance in hell will we lose this time.
You know who I'm going with?
Who are you going with?
Ball Arenas, baby. They came up with that name, which is a gym right on the spot. I like these guys. There's really 3 things you need to win in a slow pitch format. You need good pitching,
Okay.
which surprisingly takes some strategy. You need home runs, not good hitting. I'm not going to say good hitting. Small ball, it's not going to get you anything. You need home run hitters, which they've got them. And you need excellent fielders, not only to keep those ground balls from turning into doubles, but I'm talking bringing balls that are leaving the ballpark back in, and they've got all 3 of those elements. They can go toe-to-toe with smoking bases, Sheevers, and your sit on my base. I can't have the curse broken. We can't have it. I will not allow it.
It will happen, I'm telling you. Sit on my base is going to break through that damn wall, and they will succeed. We'll finally hold that trophy, and then Greg can't really hold anything over the top of my head anymore.
Well, we're going to end it there. When we come back, we're going to be looking at the top plays, something you've probably been waiting to see this whole episode. When we come back.
There may be some nudity.
Remember your game battle. Build the wall. Build the wall. Build a wall. Build a wall. Build a wall. Hit him in the face. Not a good idea. Please hit that one just did. Oh! Did you strike out like that?
And now it's time to review April's top plays. At number 10, Garry Wheeler hits what looks to be a line drive home run, but not if Andrew Westcott has anything to say about it. It's this kind of defense that gets Sit on My Base into the finals in April.
Go, 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 go!
At number 9, this video was shot by a fan and is regrettably in grainy quality. However, this clip shows Chad Lynch of Smoking Bases making a double play that would help clinch their victory in the tournament final. The double plays are a rarity in our league.
Way to go, Chad!
Moving on to number 8, get used to seeing this guy, Garry Wheeler of Ball Arenas. This diving catch is the first of 3 appearances from him that you're going to see in this month's top plays. Here at number 7, Scott Westcott, redundant name, excellent fielder. Am I right? This snag proves that he wouldn't be outdone by his brother on defense. You've got to be quick if you're going to play in shallow left field. Number 6, I told you we'd see him again. Wiffle balls can be very difficult to catch due to the curvature, but Garry Wheeler doesn't seem to struggle. This is his 2nd appearance on this list. Back at it again with a diving catch. At number 5, Jacob Dunkle is well known in the league as being a phenomenal fielder, and he regularly robs home runs and makes diving catches. But what a lot of people don't know is he also has a cannon on him, as seen here gunning down Ian Handy as he's rounding third trying to go home. However, this would not be enough to push past Smoking Bases to win the game. When we changed our format to slow pitch this year, it was mainly because we were tired of no-hitters and perfect games. We had no idea that it was even possible for a perfect game to occur in this current format, but Rick Patterson and the unforgiving defense of Sit on My Base did just that in their round-robin game against Beaver Fever. This game was an absolute bloodbath, with a final score of 26-0. Hopefully this kind of game won't be the new normal. At number 3, Garry Wheeler continued to do what he does best and show off his defensive chops against Sit on My Base before the Ball Arenas would ultimately lose this game 14-3. At number 2, Rick Patterson absolutely drills this ball, and ordinarily it would have been out of here, but Jacob Dunkle doesn't give up that easy. This is Dunkle Defense 101. Slap the balls, then cup the balls. Fantastic play. Make Wiffle great again, still loses this match 11-1. Here it is, your number 1 play, the championship game. Chad Lynch and Vincent Gerber sync up to pull off this phenomenal play. This play really helped turn the tide in favor of Smoking Bases to win the title for April. Also, as a reminder, please do not stand in front of the cameras.
Thanks for watching this episode, the first episode of WTH. We'll see you next month recapping the May tournament. Jeremy,
Josh,
we'll see you next month. Goodbye, Wiffle Nation.
goodbye.